When basketball legend Michael Jordan walks into his own luxury hotel wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses, no one recognizes him. Not even Talia Bennett, the nervous new receptionist. Working her very first day. Thinking he's just a regular guest, Talia checks him into a standard room instead of the magnificent penthouse suite reserved for the famous owner. It's a mistake that could cost her the job she desperately needs to support her young son. As hotel management frantically searches for their missing VIP, Michael explores the hotel incognito, seeing how things really work when no one knows he's watching. Meanwhile, Talia discovers clues about her mysterious guest's true identity. But is it already too late to save her career? What will happen when everyone discovers Talia's huge mistake? And is there more to this mix-up than meets the eye? Snow came down in thick white sheets outside the gleaming Grand Horizon Hotel in downtown Chicago. The giant glass doors at the entrance sparkled with tiny snowflakes that melted as soon as they touched the heated surface. Inside, the lobby buzzed with activity. Men in expensive suits and women in elegant dresses moved around, checking in for the grand opening weekend of the newest luxury hotel in the city. No one noticed the tall man who walked through the revolving door, shaking snow from his baseball cap. He wore dark sunglasses despite the gloomy weather outside, and a simple black jacket that hid his broad shoulders. The man paused for a moment, taking in the marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and the giant painting of a basketball player soaring through the air that hung behind the reception desk. Michael Jordan smiled to himself. The painting had turned out exactly as he'd imagined it. Of course it had. This was his hotel, built with the money he'd earned through years of hard work on the basketball court and smart business deals afterward. Today was supposed to be one of his proudest moments, the grand opening of the first Grand Horizon Hotel, with his name attached to it. But something felt off to Michael. The staff had been preparing for months. The managers had promised perfect service for every guest. He'd heard those promises before, but what was the reality? Did the people who worked here really care about the guests, or just about impressing him? There's only one way to find out, Michael whispered to himself. He adjusted his cap lower over his eyes and headed for the reception desk. 3 people stood behind the gleaming counter, all wearing crisp black uniforms with golden name tags. 2 of them were busy helping other guests. The third was a young woman with curly hair pulled back into a neat bun. Her name tag read, Talia Bennett. She looked nervous, her eyes darting around the busy lobby as she straightened already perfect stacks of papers. "Excuse me," Michael said, keeping his voice lower than usual. "I'd like to check in, please." Talia jumped slightly, as if she hadn't noticed him approach. "Oh, yes, of course, sir. Welcome to the Grand Horizon Hotel. Do you have a reservation?" Michael had planned this moment carefully. He'd personally made sure there was an extra room booked under a fake name, just in case he wanted to test the service without anyone knowing who he was. "Should be under Mike Johnson," he said. Talia typed quickly on her computer. Her fingers trembled slightly. Was she new? Michael wondered. Good. Someone new might not recognize him right away. "Yes, Mr. Johnson, I see your reservation here. You'll be staying with us for 2 nights. Is that correct?" Michael nodded. "Perfect. May I see your ID and credit card, please?" This was the moment of truth. Would she recognize his name on his driver's license? He slid his ID across the counter, watching her face carefully. Talia glanced at the ID, typed something into her computer, and slid it back to him without any change in her expression. Michael fought back a grin. She hadn't noticed. Maybe she wasn't a basketball fan, Or maybe she was too focused on doing her job right to pay attention to the name. "Thank you, Mr. Jordan," she said, still typing. "Now let me just—" She stopped suddenly, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. For a heart-stopping moment, Michael thought she'd realized who he was. But Talia only frowned at her screen. "I'm sorry, there seems to be a small issue with the system. Just one moment while I sort this out." Michael watched as she clicked through several screens, her frown deepening. A tall man in a manager's uniform walked past behind her, looking stressed. He glanced at Michael without recognition and hurried away, talking urgently into a small radio. "Is everything okay?" Michael asked. "Yes, of course," Talia said quickly, putting on a professional smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "The system is just running a bit slow today. It's been very busy with the opening." Michael nodded, playing along. He knew exactly what was happening in the hotel right now. The staff would be preparing for his official arrival in about 2 hours. The manager, Mr. Granger, would be checking and double-checking everything. And here was Michael, standing right in front of them, completely unnoticed. "Here we are," Talia said finally, her smile more genuine now. "You're all set, Mr. Jordan. You'll be in room 712, on the 7th floor. The elevators are just to your right. Would you like help with your luggage?" Michael patted his small overnight bag. "I can manage. Thanks." Talia handed him a key card. Breakfast is served from 6:30 to 10:30 in the main restaurant on the 2nd floor. The pool and gym are on the 3rd floor, open from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. If you need anything at all during your stay, just dial 0 from your room phone. "Thanks," Michael said. "One question, I heard the owner might be around this weekend. Michael Jordan? Any chance I might see him?" Talia's eyes widened slightly. "Oh yes, Mr. Jordan is expected to arrive later today for the opening ceremony. It's quite exciting. The ceremony will be in the Grand Ballroom at 7 p.m., if you'd like to attend." Michael nodded, fighting back another smile. "I'll think about it." As he turned to leave, another guest approached the desk. Michael overheard the woman ask, "Is it true Michael Jordan himself is staying here tonight?" "Yes, ma'am," Talia answered proudly. "He'll be in the penthouse suite, of course." Michael froze mid-step. The penthouse suite. But she'd just given him room 712. A regular room. Not the luxury penthouse that had been specially prepared for his arrival. For a moment, he considered turning back and revealing who he was. But then a better idea came to him. This mistake was actually perfect. Now he could experience the hotel just like any other guest would. No special treatment, no staff hovering around trying to impress him. Just the real Grand Horizon Hotel experience. Michael headed for the elevators, a plan forming in his mind. He'd stay in room 7112, at least for a little while. Meanwhile, the staff would start to panic when he didn't show up for his official arrival. It would be interesting to see how they handled the situation. As the elevator doors closed in front of him, Michael finally allowed himself to laugh out loud. Room 712 instead of the penthouse suite. What a mix-up! Poor Talia had no idea what she'd done. And somewhere in this grand hotel, a storm was brewing. One that would change lives forever, starting with the nervous young woman at the front desk. The real question was, how long could he keep up this disguise before someone recognized him? And what would happen to Talia when everyone discovered her huge mistake? Talia Bennett's hands shook as she helped the next guest check in. This was Ayla, only her 4th hour working at the Grand Horizon Hotel, and she already felt completely overwhelmed. The lobby was packed with important-looking people. Her new black uniform shoes pinched her toes. And worst of all, her boss, Mr. Granger, kept walking past the front desk with a worried look on his face. "Don't mess up, don't mess up," she whispered to herself when there was finally a break in the line of guests. Talia hadn't wanted to work. Today of all days, the grand opening of Chicago's fanciest new hotel. But when Mr. Granger called yesterday and said, "We need you to start immediately," she couldn't say no. Not when Devin needed new winter boots and their apartment's heater was making funny noises again. Thinking about her 7-year-old son made Talia stand up straighter. This job paid better than any she'd had before. She could finally start saving money instead of worrying about every single bill. She just had to get through this crazy first day. "Bennett!" Mr. Granger's sharp voice made her jump. He was a tall man with silver hair and glasses that he wore on the tip of his nose. "Any problems so far?" "No, sir," Talia said quickly. "Everything's running smoothly." "Good. Remember what I told you this morning. Today has to be perfect. We have VIPs coming, including the owner himself." Mr. Granger leaned closer and lowered his voice. "Michael, Jordan will be arriving for the ceremony in less than 2 hours. If you see him, alert me immediately." "Yes, sir." Talia nodded seriously, though she wasn't entirely sure she'd recognize Michael Jordan if he walked right up to her desk. Basketball wasn't really her thing. She knew he was famous, of course, but she spent her free time helping Devin with homework or catching up on sleep, not watching sports. Mr. Granger hurried away, speaking rapidly into his radio. Talia took a deep breath and looked at the fancy clock above the elevator doors. 6 more hours until her shift ended. 6 hours of smiling and typing and trying not to make mistakes. She thought about the man she'd just checked in, Mr. Jordan. Not the Michael Jordan, obviously, just a regular guest with the same last name. He'd seemed nice enough, though. A bit mysterious with those sunglasses indoors. Something about him had seemed familiar, but Talia couldn't place it. Maybe he just had one of those faces. Her thoughts were interrupted when her coworker, Leo, nudged her arm. "Heads up," he whispered. "The big boss just arrived." Talia looked toward the hotel entrance, expecting to see Michael Jordan himself walking through the doors. Instead, she saw a short, balding man in an expensive suit. "That's Mr. Dawson," Leo explained. "He's the hotel chain CEO, even higher up than Jordan in this business." Mr. Dawson strode straight to the front desk. Talia's heart pounded as he approached her side of the counter. "Good afternoon, sir," she managed to say. "Welcome to Grand Horizon." Mr. Dawson barely glanced at her. "I need to speak with Granger. Now." "Yes, sir. I'll page him right away." Talia reached for the phone with trembling fingers. While she waited for Mr. Granger to answer, she overheard Mr. Dawson muttering to his assistant, "Jordan needs to be thoroughly impressed today. If he likes what he sees, we could open 10 more hotels across the country. This has to be flawless." No pressure or anything, Talia thought, her stomach twisting into knots. After directing Mr. Dawson to a private meeting room, Talia checked her watch. Almost time for a quick lunch break. She desperately needed a moment to sit down and collect herself. "I'm going to grab something to eat," she told Leo. "Back in 20 minutes. "Better make it quick," Leo warned. "Granger's on edge today." Talia hurried to the employee break room, pulled out her phone, and called home. Her neighbor. Mrs. Garcia was watching Devin after school. "How's he doing?" Talia asked as soon as Mrs. Garcia answered. "He's fine, honey. Finished his homework. And now he's drawing you a picture of your new hotel." Talia smiled. "Tell him I can't wait to see it. I'll be home around 7. "How's the fancy job going?" Mrs. Garcia asked. "It's—" Talia hesitated. "Intense, but I'm handling it." "Of course you are. You're the strongest person I know." After saying goodbye, Talia quickly ate her sandwich. As she was about to head back to the front desk, her phone buzzed with a text from Devon's school. Her heart sank as she read it. Reminder: $75 science field trip payment due tomorrow. Talia closed her eyes. She'd completely forgotten about the field trip. $75 meant cutting back on groceries again, unless her first paycheck from the hotel came through quickly. "This job has to work out," she whispered fiercely. "It has to." When Talia returned to the front desk, the atmosphere in the lobby had changed. Staff members were hurrying around, speaking in urgent whispers. Mr. Granger stood near the elevators, with Mr. Dawson checking his watch every few seconds. "What's going on?" Talia asked Leo. Leo looked excited. "They're preparing for Jordan's arrival. Security team is already in position. There's a whole welcome committee waiting by the private entrance." "Wow," Talia said. She wondered if she'd get to see the famous basketball player up close, or if she'd be too busy checking in regular guests. The next hour passed in a blur of activity. Talia checked in a famous actor and his entourage, a wealthy family with 3 noisy children, and an elderly couple celebrating their anniversary. She was just starting to feel confident in her new role when Mr. Granger appeared at her side, looking even more stressed than before. "Bennett, I need to confirm something. Did a Mr. Mike Johnson check in earlier?" Talia blinked in surprise. "No, sir. I checked in a Mr. Michael Jordan, though. Not the owner, of course," she added with a small laugh. "Just a regular guest with the same name. Room 7112. Mr. Granger's face went pale. "You checked in someone named Michael Jordan? What did he look like?" "Tall man, baseball cap, sunglasses," Talia said, her smile fading as she saw the expression on her boss's face. "Is something wrong?" But Mr. Granger was already grabbing his radio. "Security, I need a team to room 7120 immediately, quietly. And someone find Summers. Now!" Talia's stomach dropped. "Mr. Granger, did I do something wrong?" Mr. Granger looked at her with disbelief. "Bennett, did it not occur to you that a tall man using the name Michael Jordan on the day of our owner's arrival might actually be Michael Jordan? But he said his name was Mike Johnson." Talia's voice trailed off as she remembered looking at his ID. Had it actually said Michael Jordan? She had been so nervous, so focused on not making mistakes with the computer system, that she hadn't paid close attention. "Oh no," she whispered, the horrible truth dawning on her. Was that really him? But why would he check in like a regular guest? And I put him in a standard room, not the penthouse. Mr. Granger's face was turning an alarming shade of red. "You put Michael Jordan, the owner of this hotel, in a standard room? The room we've prepared for him has been empty for 3 hours, while the entire staff has been running around looking for him?" Talia felt her world collapsing around her. Day 1 on the job, and she had made possibly the biggest mistake of her life. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, thinking of Devon, of the overdue bills, of the field trip money. "I didn't realize—" "We'll discuss your future with this hotel later," Mr. Granger snapped, then hurried away, barking. Orders into his radio. Talia stood frozen behind the desk, her dream job crumbling before her eyes. Through the big windows of the lobby, she could see the snow coming down harder now, blanketing the city in white. Soon, she would have to walk through that snow, go home, and tell Devon that Mommy had lost her job on the very first day. Unless, somehow, Michael Jordan turned out to be understanding about being put in the wrong room. Unless a miracle happened. But as Talia watched security guards rushing toward the elevators, she knew that miracles rarely happened to people like her. Michael Jordan looked around room 7112 with growing amusement. The standard room was nice enough. Clean beige carpet, a queen-sized bed with crisp white sheets, a flat-screen TV on the wall, and a small bathroom with marble countertops. But compared to the penthouse suite he'd designed himself, it might as well have been a closet. "Well, this is different," he chuckled, setting his overnight bag on the bed. He walked to the window and looked out at the snowy Chicago skyline. From the 7th floor, the view wasn't bad, but it wasn't the spectacular panorama the penthouse offered from the 25th floor. He could see part of the Chicago River, now white with ice, and the tops of nearby buildings disappearing into the gray winter sky. Michael removed his baseball cap and sunglasses, running a hand over his shaved head. It felt good to drop the disguise, even if just for a moment. He wondered how long it would take for someone to figure out where he was. Probably not long. The opening ceremony was scheduled to start in less than 2 hours, and his absence would certainly be noticed. The thought made him smile again. He pictured the hotel staff scrambling to find him, the famous owner who had mysteriously vanished. They'd probably call his cell phone soon, but he'd turned it off before entering the hotel. Michael Jordan wanted to see how his hotel really operated, not how it performed when everyone knew he was watching. He sat on the edge of the bed and bounced slightly, testing the mattress. It was firmer than he expected for a standard room. That was good. He'd insisted on quality beds throughout the hotel, not just in the expensive suites. At least that instruction had been followed. Next, he checked the bathroom. The shower pressure was decent, the towels were thick and soft, and the complimentary toiletries were the high-end brand he'd selected. So far, the room passed his inspection. But there were small things that bothered him. The TV remote had no batteries. The information book about hotel services was missing, and the temperature control panel was set to an uncomfortably warm 78 degrees. Michael adjusted it to 70 and made a mental note of these issues. Time to check out the rest of the hotel, he decided. He put his disguise back on, cap pulled low, sunglasses covering his eyes, and left room 712. The hallway was quiet and elegantly decorated with framed black and white photographs of Chicago landmarks. Michael nodded approvingly. This was exactly what he'd wanted. A hotel that reflected the city's character and history. He took the elevator down to the 3rd floor, where the pool and gym were located. The gym was state-of-the-art, with new equipment and plenty of space. Through the glass doors, he could see 2 guests working out. Perfect. The facilities were being used, not just sitting empty for show. The pool area was even more impressive. A large indoor pool with a glass ceiling that let in natural light, comfortable lounge chairs, and a small bar serving healthy drinks and snacks. Michael felt a surge of pride. This was his vision coming to life. As he was about to leave, a young hotel employee entered the pool area. He was carrying a stack of fresh towels and didn't notice Michael at first. Then he looked up, and his eyes widened with shock. "Mr. J. Jordan?" the young man stuttered, nearly dropping the towels. Michael put a finger to his lips. "Keep it down, please. What's your name?" "Pedro, sir. Pedro Martinez." The young man couldn't stop staring. "Nice to meet you, Pedro. Listen, I'm checking out the hotel incognito today. I'd appreciate if you didn't tell anyone you saw me." Pedro nodded eagerly. "Of course, Mr. Jordan. I won't say a word, but Shouldn't you be at the opening ceremony soon? Everyone's getting ready for it. I'll be there, Michael assured him. Just doing some undercover quality control first. How long have you worked here, Pedro? Just 2 weeks, sir. I was hired for the opening. And how do you like it so far? Pedro's face lit up. It's amazing. Best job I've ever had. The staff is treated really well, and the managers actually listen to our ideas. That was exactly what Michael wanted to hear. He smiled and patted Pedro on the shoulder. Good. Keep up the good work. Remember, our secret, okay? Yes, sir, Pedro said, looking like he might burst with excitement. Your secret is safe. With me. Michael left the pool area feeling satisfied. At least some things were working according to plan. He decided to check out the restaurant next. As he walked through the hotel, he noticed that the staff was indeed running around more frantically than normal. Several security guards passed him without a second glance, talking urgently into their radios. They're looking for me, he thought, with amusement. The second-floor restaurant was called Air 23, a nod to his basketball jersey number. The space was elegant, but not stuffy, with comfortable seating and large windows overlooking the city. About half the tables were occupied with early dinner guests. Michael found an empty table in the corner and sat down. A waiter quickly approached. Good evening, sir. Welcome to Air 23. My name is Marcus, and I'll be your server today. Thanks, Marcus. I'll just have a cup of coffee for now. Certainly, sir. Coming right up. While waiting for his coffee, Michael observed the restaurant operations. The service was efficient, the atmosphere pleasant. But he noticed that the background music was too loud, making it difficult for guests to have conversations. Another note for improvement. Marcus returned with the coffee. Here you go, sir. Anything else I can get you? Actually, I have a question. I heard the owner, Michael Jordan, is supposed to be here tonight. Have you seen him? Marcus leaned closer and lowered his voice. Between you and me, sir, there's a bit of a situation. Mr. Jordan was supposed to arrive hours ago, but nobody can find him. The managers are going crazy. The ceremony starts in an hour, and the guest of honor is missing. That's terrible, Michael said, fighting back a smile. I'm sure he'll turn up. I hope so, sir. Enjoy your coffee. As Michael sipped his coffee, he noticed the restaurant manager speaking urgently to a security guard near the entrance. The guard was showing the manager a photo on his phone. Probably a picture of Michael himself. The manager shook his head, and the guard moved on to the next section of the restaurant. Getting warmer, Michael thought. It was probably time to head back to his room before someone recognized him. He paid for his coffee and took the elevator back to the 7th floor. As he walked down the hallway toward room 712, he saw a group of security guards and hotel staff gathered outside his door. Among them was a tall, stern-looking man who seemed to be in charge. Michael stopped at the ET corner watching the scene unfold. The man inserted a key card into the door of room 7112 and pushed it open. The security team entered the room. "Nobody here, Mr. Summers," one of the guards called out, "but his bag is on the bed." "He must be somewhere in the hotel," the stern man, Mr. Summers, replied. "Keep searching, and be discreet. We don't want to cause a panic." Michael stepped back around the corner, considering his options. His little experiment had clearly caused more chaos than he'd anticipated. Maybe it was time to reveal himself and put an end to the confusion. But then he overheard something that changed his mind. "Granger wants to fire the receptionist who made this mistake," one of the security guards was saying. "Poor girl, it's her first day." "Tough break," another voice replied. But you don't mess up with the boss on day one and keep your job. Michael frowned. Fire the receptionist? That seemed extreme. The young woman, Talia, according to her name tag, had made an honest mistake. And honestly, he was partly to blame for the confusion. He'd deliberately checked in under a slightly different name to test the service. As the security team moved down the hallway, continuing their search, Michael made a decision. He wasn't ready to reveal himself just yet. First, he needed to find out more about this receptionist and why Mr. Granger was so quick to fire her. He took out his phone and turned it on. Immediately, it buzzed with dozens of missed calls and messages. He ignored them all and dialed a number he knew by heart. "Curtis," he said when his personal assistant answered, "I need you to find out something for me. There's a receptionist named Talia at the Grand Horizon. Just started today. I want to know her story." "Boss, where are you?" Curtis asked, sounding stressed. "Everyone's looking for you. The ceremony." I know. I'll be there. But first, get me that information. And Curtis, be discreet." Michael hung up and looked at his watch. The opening ceremony was scheduled to start in 45 minutes. He had some time. He turned toward the emergency stairs. He needed to find a quiet place to wait while Curtis gathered the information he needed. And he needed to decide what to do about Talia, the receptionist who had accidentally put Michael Jordan in the wrong room on the most important day of her career. Rex Summers was not having a good day. As security director for the Grand Horizon Hotel, he'd spent months preparing for this opening. He'd hired the best team, installed state-of-the-art cameras, and created detailed plans for every possible emergency. But he hadn't planned for the owner of the hotel to simply vanish. "Run the lobby footage again," Rex ordered, standing in. The security office surrounded by screens. He must have come through there. The young security officer rewound the video from 3 hours earlier. "We've checked it 3 times already, sir." "Then check it again," Rex snapped. He rubbed his temples, feeling a headache coming on. If they didn't find Michael Jordan in the next 30 minutes, his career was over. The door burst open, and Mr. Granger rushed in, his face flushed red. "Any sign of him?" the hotel manager demanded. Rex shook his head. "Not yet. We've confirmed he's been in room 7112. His overnight bag is there. But we can't find him in any of the public areas." "This is a disaster," Granger moaned. "The mayor will be here in 20 minutes. The press is already setting up in the ballroom, and our star attraction is missing." "We'll find him," Rex promised, though he wasn't feeling confident. "I have men checking every floor, every stairwell." Granger paced the small office. "And what about that incompetent receptionist, Bennett?" "She's still at the front desk," Rex replied. "I thought it best to keep her there until we sort this out." "She should be fired immediately," Granger declared. "Checking in Michael Jordan as a regular guest. It's unbelievable." Rex wasn't so sure. From what he'd gathered, the young woman had made an honest mistake. And there was something odd about the whole situation. Why would Jordan check in under a different name? Why would he accept a standard room without complaint? "Let's focus on finding Mr. Jordan first," Rex suggested. "We can deal with the receptionist later." Granger's phone rang, and he answered it with a sharp, "What now?" His eyes widened. "He's where? Are you certain?" He hung up and turned to Rex. "Someone matching Jordan's description was seen in the restaurant 20 minutes ago, but the witness said he was wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses." Rex frowned. "A disguise? Why would he disguise himself at his own hotel opening?" "I don't know, and I don't care," Granger said. "Just find him." As Granger hurried out, Rex studied the security monitors more carefully. If Jordan was indeed wearing a disguise, they'd been looking for the wrong person all along. "Pull up the check-in footage from earlier today," he instructed. "Show me everyone who checked in between noon and 3 p.m. The security officer scrolled through the footage. Dozens of guests had arrived during that time, creating a chaotic scene at the front desk. "There," Rex said suddenly, pointing at a tall man in a baseball cap and sunglasses. "That's him." He watched as the disguised figure approached the reception desk and spoke with Talia Bennett. The interaction seemed perfectly normal. No signs of confusion or recognition from either party. "He's testing us," Rex realized. "He's checking out the hotel incognito to see how we treat regular guests." This changed everything. Rex picked up his radio. "All units, new search parameters. We're looking for a man in a baseball cap and sunglasses, approximately 6'6", moving. Around the hotel, he may be deliberately avoiding detection." Rex left the security office and headed for the lobby. He needed to speak with Talia Bennett. Immediately, at the front desk, he found the young woman looking pale and nervous as she continued, checking in guests. Her hands trembled slightly as she typed. "Ms. Bennett," Rex said, approaching her. "I need to speak with you." Talia looked up, her eyes fearful. "Mr. Summers, I'm so sorry about what happened. I didn't realize." "I need you to tell me exactly how he acted," Rex interrupted. "The man you checked in as Michael Jordan. Did anything seem unusual?" Talia thought for a moment. "He was wearing sunglasses indoors, which was a bit odd, and he asked if he might see Michael Jordan this weekend." "He asked about himself?" Rex confirmed. "Yes," Talia nodded. "I told him there was an opening ceremony tonight. He said he'd think about attending." Rex's suspicions were confirmed. Jordan was deliberately flying under the radar, testing his own hotel. "Thank you, Ms. Bennett. Continue with your work for now." As Rex walked away, his radio crackled. "Mr. Summers, we've finished checking the 7th floor. No sign of the target." "Expand the search to all floors," Rex ordered. "And check the staff areas too. He could be anywhere." Rex headed for the elevators, his mind racing. The opening ceremony was supposed to start in 30 minutes. They needed to find Jordan before then, or the entire event would be ruined. The elevator, he found himself sharing the space with a housekeeper pushing a cleaning cart. "Busy day," Rex commented, trying to sound casual. The housekeeper nodded. "Very busy. And everyone's looking for Mr. Jordan. Have you seen anyone suspicious on your floor? Maybe someone who seemed out of place?" "No, sir," the housekeeper replied. Then she paused. "Actually, there was a tall man in the stairwell on the 5th floor. He was on his phone. Seemed like he didn't want to be noticed." Rex's heart raced. When was this? "Just now, 5 minutes ago." Rex stepped out of the elevator at the next floor and headed for the stairs. If Jordan was using the stairwells to avoid detection, this could be their chance to find him. Meanwhile, in the lobby, Talia was struggling to maintain her composure. Every time a manager walked by, she expected to be fired on the spot. The only reason she was still at the desk, she figured, was because they hadn't found Michael Jordan yet. "Any news?" she whispered to Leo during a quiet moment. Leo shook his head. Total chaos. Security's searching everywhere. Granger's about to have a heart attack. And the VIP guests are starting to arrive for the ceremony. Talia felt sick. This was all her fault. If only she'd paid more attention when checking the man's ID. If only she'd realized who he was. "I'm definitely getting fired," she said softly. "Maybe not," Leo offered. "If they find Jordan and he's in a good mood, maybe he won't care about the mix-up." But Talia wasn't hopeful. Rich, important people didn't usually overlook mistakes that made them look bad, and putting the famous owner in a standard room instead of the luxury penthouse definitely made the hotel look bad. She thought about Devon waiting at home, expecting to hear all about his mom's first day at her fancy new job. How would she tell him that she'd lost it already? Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text from Mrs. Garcia. "Devon wants to know if you met any basketball players yet. He's so proud of his mom." Tears stung Talia's eyes, but she blinked them away. She couldn't fall apart now. She had to keep doing her job until someone officially told her to leave. Across the lobby, Rex Summers emerged from the stairwell, looking frustrated. The tip from the housekeeper had led nowhere. The fifth-floor stairwell was empty when he'd arrived. His radio crackled again. "Sir, the mayor has arrived. Mr. Granger is asking for an update." Rex sighed. "Tell him we're still searching, and ask Curtis Johnson if he's heard from Mr. Jordan directly." Curtis Johnson was Jordan's personal assistant, and if anyone knew where the basketball star was, it would be him. But so far, Curtis had been suspiciously quiet. What Rex didn't know was that at that very moment, Curtis was sitting in his car outside the hotel, frantically researching Talia Bennett as his boss had requested. And what he was discovering would change everything about this already chaotic evening. Michael Jordan found a quiet corner in the hotel's business center on the fourth floor. The room was empty. Everyone was either preparing for the ceremony or searching for him. Perfect. He sat at a computer desk facing away from the door. If someone walked in, they'd see only his back, not his face. He checked his watch. 30 minutes until the ceremony was supposed to start. By now, the entire hotel staff must be in full panic mode. His phone buzzed. Curtis was calling. "What did you find out?" Michael asked, keeping his voice low. "Plenty," Curtis replied. "Talia Bennett, 29 years old, single mother, 2. A 7-year-old boy named Devon. She's been struggling financially since her husband died in a car accident. "3 years ago." Michael frowned. He hadn't expected such a difficult backstory. "There's more," Curtis continued. "She's worked 3 jobs at once to make ends meet, put herself through night school to get an associate's degree in hospitality management, got evicted from her apartment last year when her previous employer went bankrupt, had to move to a smaller place in a rougher neighborhood. And the hotel job? How did she get it? Applied 7 times before finally getting an interview. According to social media, today was her first day. She called it her dream job in a post this morning." Michael leaned back in his chair, thinking. No wonder the young woman had been nervous at the check-in desk. This wasn't just another job for her, it was a lifeline. "Thanks, Curtis. That's helpful." "Boss, what's going on? Everyone's looking for you. The ceremony." "I'll be there," Michael assured him, "just taking care of something first." He hung up and stared at the blank computer screen, seeing his reflection. The baseball cap and sunglasses suddenly felt silly. What had started as a simple test of the hotel's service had turned into something more complicated. Michael had grown up poor himself. He knew what it meant to struggle, to fight for every opportunity. His mother had worked multiple jobs to support the family. He'd seen firsthand how a single mistake could derail someone's entire future. And now Talia Bennett was about to lose her dream job because of a mistake that wasn't entirely her fault. He'd deliberately checked in with a slightly different name. He'd worn a disguise. He'd said nothing when she gave him the wrong room. "This isn't right," he muttered to himself. Michael stood up. Decision made. He would reveal himself and make sure Talia kept her job. But first, he wanted to see a bit more of how his hotel operated behind the scenes. He left the business center and took the service elevator down to the kitchen area. The hotel restaurant would be providing food for the opening ceremony, and he wanted to see the preparations. The kitchen was a whirlwind of activity. Chefs in white coats moved with practiced efficiency, preparing elegant appetizers and champagne flutes. No one noticed Michael slip in through the back entrance. He watched for several minutes, impressed by the teamwork and attention to detail. The head chef was firm but respectful with his staff, offering guidance rather than shouting orders. This was exactly the kind of workplace culture Michael had wanted for his hotel. As he was about to leave, Michael overheard two kitchen workers talking in hushed tones by the walk-in refrigerator. "Did they find him yet?" one asked. "No, and Granger's losing it," the other replied. "He already fired that new receptionist." Michael froze. "Fired her? Already?" The workers turned, startled by his voice. Their eyes widened as they recognized him, despite the disguise. "Mr. Jordan!" they gasped in unison. "What was that about someone being fired?" Michael asked, removing his sunglasses. The workers exchanged nervous glances. "The new receptionist, sir," one finally said. "Mr. Granger fired her about 10 minutes ago. Said she ruined the most important day in the hotel's history." Michael's jaw tightened. This wasn't what he wanted at all. "Where is she now?" "Probably still clearing out her things. Staff locker room, down the hall." "Thank you," Michael said, already moving toward the door. "And please, don't tell anyone you saw me. Not yet." The workers nodded, too stunned to speak. Michael hurried through the back corridors of the hotel, avoiding the public areas where he might be recognized. He found the staff locker room and paused outside the door, hearing quiet. Sobbing from within. He knocked gently. "Hello? Talia?" The sobbing stopped. After a moment, the door opened, revealing the young woman from the reception desk. Her eyes were red and puffy, her makeup streaked with tears. When she saw Michael, her expression changed from sadness to shock. "You," she gasped. "You're him. You're really him." Michael nodded, removing his cap. "I'm sorry about the confusion earlier. I didn't mean for things to turn out this way." Talia stared at him, speechless. Then her shock gave way to anger. "Why did you do it?" she demanded, her voice shaking. "Why did you trick me? I needed this job. I have a son to support." The raw emotion in her voice took Michael by surprise. People usually didn't speak to him this way, with such honest hurt and frustration. "I wasn't trying to trick you specifically," he explained. "I wanted to experience the hotel as a regular guest, to see how things really work when no one knows I'm watching." "Well, congratulations," Talia said bitterly. "You got your authentic experience, and I got fired on my first day." She turned away, wiping fresh tears from her cheeks. Michael saw her gathering a few personal items from an open locker. A framed photo of a smiling little boy, a worn notebook, a water bottle with dinosaur stickers on it. "I'm going to fix this," Michael said firmly. "You shouldn't have been fired," The mistake was mine as much as yours." Talia looked back at him, hope flashing briefly in her eyes before fading to resignation. "It doesn't matter now. Mr. Granger made it very clear that I'm not welcome here anymore." "Mr. Granger doesn't have the final say," Michael reminded her. "I do. It's my hotel." He checked his watch again. 15 minutes until the ceremony. Just enough time. "Come with me," he said, offering his hand to Talia. "Let's set things right." Talia hesitated, looking uncertain. "Where are we going?" Michael smiled, putting his baseball cap back on. "To make a grand entrance." As they left the locker room together, Michael felt a sense of purpose that had nothing to do with hotel openings or business success. This was about doing the right thing for someone who deserved a second chance, just as he'd received many second chances throughout his own, yet career. What had started as a simple room mix-up was about to become something much more meaningful. For Talia, for Michael, and for everyone waiting in the Grand Horizon Hotel's ballroom. The Grand Horizon's ballroom sparkled with hundreds of tiny lights. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting a warm glow over the crowd of VIP guests. Men in expensive suits and women in designer dresses mingled around elegant tables covered with white cloths and basketball-themed centerpieces. At the front of the room, a stage had been set up with a podium bearing the hotel's logo, A stylized. Horizon line with the number 23 worked into the design. Behind the stage hung a giant banner reading, "Grand Horizon Hotel, Michael Jordan's newest triumph." Mr. Granger stood near the stage, checking his watch every 30 seconds. The ceremony was supposed to start in 10 minutes, and there was still no sign of the guest of honor. The mayor of Chicago had already arrived, along with several famous basketball players, business leaders, and celebrities. Everyone was asking the same question: "Where's Michael?" "Any updates?" Mr. Dawson, the hotel chain CEO, demanded, appearing at Granger's side. "Security is still searching," Granger replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "We've checked everywhere." "This is unacceptable," Dawson hissed. "We have 200 VIPs waiting. The press is getting restless. If Jordan doesn't show up, we're finished." Granger nodded, sweat beading on his forehead. "I understand, sir. I've already taken action. I fired the receptionist who caused this disaster." "You did what?" Dawson looked alarmed. "Without consulting me? Without knowing all the facts?" "She put Michael Jordan in a standard room instead of the penthouse. She clearly couldn't handle the job." Dawson shook his head. "You're missing the point. What if Jordan liked her? What if he was testing us by checking in anonymously? You may have just made things worse." This possibility hadn't occurred to Granger. His face paled. "Should I find her? Rehire her?" "It's too late for that," Dawson snapped. "Just focus on finding Jordan. And for heaven's sake, try to look calm. The guests are watching." Across the room, Rex Summers entered the ballroom through a side door. His expression was grim as he approached Granger and Dawson. "Any news?" Granger asked hopefully. Rex shook his head. "Nothing definitive, but we have a new theory. We believe Mr. Jordan may have been deliberately testing the hotel by checking in under a slight disguise." "That's what I was just saying," Dawson muttered, glaring at Granger. "If that's the case," Rex continued, "then firing the receptionist was premature." Granger's face fell. "Oh no." "Curtis Johnson just arrived," Rex added. "Jordan's personal assistant. He's being very evasive about his boss's whereabouts." "Bring him here," Dawson ordered. "Maybe he knows something." As Rex went to find Curtis, Granger surveyed the increasingly restless crowd. People were checking their watches, whispering to each other. The mayor was looking annoyed. This was turning into a complete disaster. Granger had worked at luxury hotels for 20 years. He'd handled celebrity meltdowns, natural disasters, and security threats. But he'd never faced a situation quite like this. The owner of the hotel vanishing on opening night, possibly as part of some elaborate test that Granger had failed by firing an innocent employee. "I'm ruined," he thought miserably. At that moment, Leo from the front desk hurried up to him, looking excited. "Mr. Granger, you need to see this!" He thrust his phone into Granger's hand. It was a social media post from the hotel's official account, a photo taken just minutes ago, showing Michael Jordan in the hotel lobby, smiling and chatting with guests. The caption read, "The legend himself has arrived. Michael Jordan welcomes guests to the grand opening of the Grand Horizon Hotel." "He's here?" Granger gasped. "Where? When did this happen?" "Just now," Leo said. "He came through the main entrance with a crowd of people. He's signing autographs and taking pictures." Granger felt lightheaded with relief. "Thank goodness. Tell him we're ready to start the ceremony as soon as he arrives." "There's something else," Leo added hesitantly. "He's not alone. Talia is with him." "Talia? The receptionist I just fired?" Leo nodded. "They came in together. They seem friendly." Granger's relief evaporated. This was worse than he'd imagined. Not only had he fired someone without proper cause, but that someone was now apparently on good terms with the hotel's famous owner. "Get back to your post," he told Leo, "and don't mention this to anyone else." As Leo hurried away, Dawson returned, with Curtis Johnson in tow. The personal assistant was a slim, well-dressed man with a perpetually calm expression, though today even he looked slightly frazzled. "Mr. Johnson," Granger began, "we're very concerned about Mr. Jordan's whereabouts." Curtis smiled diplomatically. "I completely understand your concern, but there's no need to worry. Mr. Jordan is in the building and will be joining the ceremony shortly." "So he is here!" Dawson exclaimed. "Where has he been all day?" Mr. Jordan wanted to experience the hotel firsthand. As a regular guest, Curtis explained. He checked in earlier under a slight disguise. Granger's worst fears were confirmed. "So, the man Talia checked in? That was actually him?" "Precisely," Curtis nodded. "A standard quality control procedure Mr. Jordan likes to use with all his businesses. He wants authentic experiences, not special treatment." Dawson shot Granger a furious look. "And you fired the receptionist for doing exactly what she was supposed to do. Treat all guests equally." "I didn't know," Granger protested weakly. "Well, you'd better fix it," Dawson growled. "Apologize to her. Beg her to come back. Offer her a raise. Do whatever it takes." "That won't be necessary," came a new voice from behind them. The three men turned to see Michael Jordan himself standing there, tall and imposing, in a perfectly tailored suit. The baseball cap and sunglasses were gone. Beside him stood Talia Bennett, looking nervous but determined. "Mr. Jordan," Granger stammered, "welcome to your hotel. We've been looking everywhere for you." "I know," Michael said coolly. "I've been watching how the hotel operates when no one knows. I'm looking. It's been educational." His gaze fixed on Granger, who seemed to shrink under the scrutiny. "I understand you fired Ms. Bennett here for a mistake that wasn't entirely her fault." Granger swallowed hard. There was a misunderstanding. I acted hastily. Of course, she's welcome to have her job back. That's good to hear, Michael said, because Ms. Bennett just gave me some excellent ideas about improving guest services. I think she has a bright future here, perhaps in management. Talia looked as surprised as Granger at this announcement. Michael turned to her with a smile. What do you say, Talia? Interested in a promotion instead of just getting your old job back? Before she could answer, the crowd finally noticed Michael's presence. A cheer went up, followed by applause that quickly spread throughout the ballroom. We'll discuss the details later, Michael told her. Right now, we have a ceremony to attend. As he guided Talia toward the stage, photographers surged forward, cameras flashing. The ballroom was buzzing with excitement and confusion. Who was this unknown woman walking with Michael Jordan? Why did she look like she'd been crying? What was going on? Talia felt dizzy with the sudden turn of events. An hour ago, she'd been fired from her dream job. Now she was walking toward a stage with Michael Jordan, being offered a promotion. Is this really happening? She whispered. Michael gave her a reassuring nod. Sometimes life's biggest mistakes turn into the best opportunities. As they reached the stage, the crowd's applause grew louder. The storm that had been gathering all day was about to break, but not in the way anyone had expected. 3 hours earlier, Talia Bennett had been sorting key cards behind the reception desk when she first began to suspect something wasn't right about the mysterious guest in room 712. It started with small things. The way the other staff members had suddenly become more attentive after the man checked in. The hushed conversations that stopped whenever she approached. The security guards who kept studying a photo on their phones and then scanning. The lobby, with serious expressions. Talia had tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept drifting back to the tall man in the baseball cap and sunglasses. There had been something familiar about him, something she couldn't quite place. Leo, she had whispered to her co-worker during a quiet moment. That man I checked in earlier, Mr. Jordan, did he look familiar to you? Leo had shrugged. Didn't really see his face with those sunglasses. Why? I don't know. Something about him. Talia had frowned, trying to remember where she might have seen him before. It wasn't until her lunch break, when she'd walked past the wall of framed photographs in the staff hallway, that the first real clue hit her. There, in a large photo of Michael Jordan cutting the ribbon at another hotel opening, was the same tall, powerful build, the same confident stance, the same hands. Talia had stopped dead in her tracks, staring at the photo. No, she'd whispered to herself. It couldn't be. But the seed of doubt was planted. When she returned to the front desk, she pulled up the reservation for room 7112 on her computer. The name read Michael Jordan, not Mike Johnson, as she had somehow thought. Had she misheard him? Or had she been so nervous on her first day that she'd confused the names? The second clue came when the hotel manager, Mr. Granger, had frantically questioned her about checking in someone named Michael Jordan. His panic had confirmed her growing suspicion. The man in room 7112 wasn't just any guest with the same name as the famous basketball player. He was the actual Michael Jordan. The third and most convincing clue had appeared when Talia delivered extra towels to room 712 during a lull at the front desk. She'd knocked, and when no one answered, she'd used her master key to leave the towels. In the bathroom. That's when she'd spotted it on the nightstand. A distinctive championship ring, casually left beside the hotel information booklet. Talia had seen enough sports documentaries with Devon to recognize a Chicago Bulls championship ring when she saw one. Heart racing, she'd quickly placed the towels in the bathroom and hurried out. But the evidence was becoming impossible to ignore. By the time Mr. Granger had fired her, Talia was almost certain that she had indeed checked Michael Jordan into his own hotel and given him the wrong room. The realization was both horrifying and somehow oddly funny. Of all the mistakes to make on her first day, now, standing beside the real, undisguised Michael Jordan at the edge of the stage, Talia watched as he stepped up to the microphone. The ballroom fell silent, hundreds of eyes fixed on the basketball legend. "Good evening, everyone," Michael began, his deep voice filling the room. "First, I want to thank you all for coming to celebrate the opening of the Grand Horizon Hotel." The crowd applauded politely. "Today has been interesting," Michael continued with a smile. "Some of you may not know this, but I arrived at the E-Key Hotel several hours ago, not as the owner, but as a regular guest." Murmurs rippled through the audience. "I checked in under my real name, but wearing a simple disguise," he gestured to Talia. "And this wonderful woman, Talia Bennett, provided me with excellent service. She treated me exactly as she would treat any guest, with professionalism and courtesy." Talia felt her cheeks flush as all eyes turned to her. What Talia didn't know, Michael went on, was that there had been a small misunderstanding. "I was assigned to room 712, a perfectly nice standard room, instead of the penthouse suite that had been prepared for me." Gasps and whispers filled the ballroom. Mr. Granger looked like he might faint. "And you know what?" Michael smiled. "It was the best thing that could have happened, because it gave me the chance to experience this hotel as a regular guest would. To see the real Grand Horizon, not a polished version prepared specially for the owner." He turned to Talia. "Ms. Bennett here made what some might call a mistake, but I call it a happy accident, one that showed me exactly what I needed to see." Talia stood frozen, unable to believe what was happening. Michael Jordan was publicly defending her. Michael Jordan was praising her. Unfortunately, Michael's tone grew more serious. Not everyone saw it that way. When the staff realized I wasn't in the penthouse, there was a bit of panic. And in that panic, some hasty decisions were made. His gaze shifted to Mr. Granger, who seemed to shrink under the scrutiny. Ms. Bennett was fired for her supposed mistake. Fired on her first day, with no chance to explain or defend herself. The crowd murmured in disapproval. "That's not the kind of hotel I want to run," Michael stated firmly. "The Grand Horizon should be a place where everyone, guests and staff alike, is treated with respect and fairness, where small mistakes are learning opportunities, not reasons for punishment." He turned back to Talia with a warm smile. "Which is why I'm pleased to announce that not only will Ms. Bennett be keeping her job, but she'll be heading up our new guest experience team, reporting directly to me." The audience broke into enthusiastic applause. Talia felt tears welling in her eyes again. But this time, they were tears of disbelief and joy. As the applause continued, Michael leaned closer to her and whispered, "Those were good clues you picked up on. Not many people would have put it together so quickly." "The ring was the giveaway," Talia whispered back, finding her voice at last. "My son is a huge basketball fan. He's going to freak out when I tell him about this." Michael grinned. "Then he'll love what I have planned next." Before Talia could ask what he meant, Michael turned back to the microphone to continue his speech, As he spoke about his vision for the hotel, Talia stood beside him, still trying to process the incredible turn her life had taken in just one day. From being fired to being promoted by Michael Jordan himself, all because she'd put him in the wrong room. Sometimes, Talia realized, the biggest mistakes really did lead to the greatest opportunities. But there was still something puzzling her, something that didn't quite add up about this whole situation. A final clue she hadn't yet discovered. The opening ceremony continued with speeches from the mayor and other VIPs. Champagne flowed freely, and the hotel staff served elegant appetizers on silver trays. The crisis seemed to have passed. Michael Jordan had appeared, the ceremony was proceeding as planned, and the guests were happy. But behind the scenes, things were far from resolved. Talia stood at the edge of the ballroom, watching the celebration with mixed emotions. Just hours ago, she'd been fired from her dream job. Now she'd been publicly praised and promoted by Michael Jordan himself. It felt unreal, like a dream she might wake up from at any moment. "Ms. Bennett?" A voice broke into her thoughts. She turned to see Curtis Johnson, Michael Jordan's personal assistant. "Mr. Jordan would like you to join him at the main table," Curtis said. "The mayor has some questions about your new position." As Talia followed Curtis through the crowd, they passed Mr. Granger, who was deep in conversation with Mr. Dawson. The hotel manager looked pale and stressed, constantly mopping his forehead with a handkerchief. "Completely unacceptable," Mr. Dawson was saying in a harsh whisper. "Firing staff without proper cause. Jordan is furious." "I was just trying to protect the hotel's reputation," Granger protested weakly. "By making snap judgments? By treating staff like they're disposable?" Talia couldn't help feeling a twinge of satisfaction as she walked by. Mr. Granger had fired her without a second thought, without even giving her a chance to explain. Now he was the one in trouble. At the main table, Michael Jordan sat with the mayor and several celebrities. He smiled as Talia approached and pulled out an empty chair beside him. "Talia, I was just telling the mayor about your promotion," he said. "About how you'll be heading up our new guest experience team." The mayor, a short woman with a friendly smile, reached out to shake Talia's hand. "Congratulations. It sounds like you made quite an impression on Mr. Jordan here." "Thank you," Talia said, still feeling overwhelmed by the situation. "It's been an unusual first day." "The best ideas often come from unexpected places," Michael said. "Talia here has given me a fresh perspective on what makes a hotel truly special." As the conversation continued, Talia smiled and nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. The question that had been bothering her kept surfacing. Why would the hotel's computer system assign Michael Jordan to a standard room instead of the penthouse suite? The reservation had clearly shown his name. There should have been a flag or a special note in the system. Unless a new thought struck her. What if the mistake hadn't been hers at all? What if someone had deliberately changed the reservation? Talia glanced at Michael Jordan, studying his face. He seemed perfectly at ease, enjoying the evening. But there was something in his eyes, a hint of amusement, perhaps, that made her wonder. The dinner portion of the evening began, with servers bringing out exquisitely prepared dishes. As they ate, Michael leaned closer to Talia. "How's the food?" he asked. "Delicious," she replied, then hesitated before adding, "Can I ask you something, Mr. Jordan?" "Of course. And please, call me Michael." Did you plan this?" The room mix-up, I mean. Michael's expression remained neutral, but there was a flicker of something in his eyes. What makes you ask that? It just seems strange that the computer would assign you to a standard room when there must have been notes in the system about the penthouse suite. And you didn't correct me when I gave you the wrong key. A small smile played at the corners of Michael's mouth. You're observant. That's a valuable quality. Before he could say more, they were interrupted by Rex Summers, the security director, who approached their table with an urgent expression. Mr. Jordan, I'm sorry to disturb you, but we have a situation, Rex said quietly. Michael frowned. What kind of situation? There's a crowd gathering outside the hotel. Word has spread about your presence, and people are hoping to get autographs or photos. The police are concerned about traffic and safety. How many people? At least 500 and growing. They're blocking the street. Michael nodded thoughtfully. Have the police set up barriers. Tell them I'll come out after the ceremony to sign a few autographs, but only if the crowd stays orderly. Yes, sir. Rex hesitated. There's something else. A reporter is asking questions about Ms. Bennett and her promotion. They're running a story about how she was fired and then rehired in the same day. They're calling it Jordan's First Grand Horizon Drama. Talia felt her stomach drop. The last thing she wanted was media attention. She was just trying to do her job and support her son. Michael's expression darkened. Who told them about this? We don't know, sir, but they seem to have detailed information. Michael turned to Talia, his voice gentle but serious. Are you okay with this? Being in the spotlight wasn't part of the job description. Talia thought about Devon, about their small apartment, about the bills piling up on her kitchen table. The promotion would change everything for them. But at what cost? I don't know, she admitted. I'm not used to people paying attention to me. I understand, Michael said. I'll have my PR team handle it. They can minimize the personal details, focus on the guest experience program instead. As Rex walked away, Talia felt a new wave of anxiety washing over her. Her simple mistake had snowballed into something much bigger than she'd ever imagined. Now, there were crowds. Outside, reporters asking questions, and she was sitting next to Michael Jordan at a VIP dinner. It was too much, too fast. I need some air, she said suddenly, standing up. Excuse me for a moment. Without waiting for a response, Talia hurried toward the ballroom doors. She needed space to think, to process everything that had happened, to decide if she was ready for this dramatic change in her life. As she pushed through the doors into a quiet hallway, she heard footsteps behind her. Turning, she saw Michael following her. Talia, wait, he called. We need to talk. She stopped, her heart pounding. The look on his face told her that he had something important to say, something that might finally answer the questions that had been bothering her all evening. The crisis point had arrived. Whatever Michael Jordan was about to tell her would change everything. Talia stood in the quiet hallway outside the ballroom, her heart hammering in her chest. The sounds of the celebration, laughter, clinking glasses, soft music, seemed distant now. All she could focus on was Michael Jordan's face as he approached her. I think we need to talk somewhere more private, Michael said, glancing around. Too many ears around here. He led her down the hallway to a small conference room and held the door open for her. Inside, the room was dimly lit, with a polished wooden table and comfortable chairs. Large windows offered a spectacular view of nighttime Chicago, the city lights twinkling against the dark sky. Michael closed the door behind them and took a deep breath. "You're right," he said. "There's more to this story." Talia wrapped her arms around herself. "I knew it. The computer system wouldn't have made that kind of mistake on its own. Something was changed." Michael nodded, a small smile playing at his lips. "You're quick. I like that. So, what really happened? Did you set me up? Was this all some kind of test?" Talia could hear her voice rising with emotion, but she couldn't help it. The day had been a roller coaster, and she needed answers. "Not exactly a test," Michael replied. He walked to the window, looking out at the city he'd called home for so many years. "More like a research project." "Research?" Talia frowned. "I don't understand." Michael turned to face her. "When I decided to open this hotel, I wanted it to be different, special. Not just another luxury hotel with my name slapped on it. I wanted it to represent something I've always believed in, that how you treat people when no one's watching says more about you than how you act in the spotlight." "Okay, but what does that have to do with me and room 712? "I've opened hotels before," Michael continued, "and every time it's the same story. Everyone is on their best behavior when they know I'm around. The staff is extra polite, the service is perfect, everything shines. But that's not real. That's not what actual guests experience day to day." He walked closer to Talia, his expression serious but kind. "So this time, I decided to see the hotel through a regular guest's eyes. I had Curtis change my reservation in the system, from the penthouse suite to a standard room. The only people who knew about it were Curtis and me." Talia's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "So, it wasn't my mistake at all. The system gave you room 7112 because that's what was in the system." "Exactly," Michael nodded. "You did exactly what you were supposed to do. You followed the system." For a moment, Talia felt a wave of relief wash over her. She hadn't messed up after all. But then, another emotion took its place. Anger. "So, Mr. Granger fired me for nothing? For doing my job correctly?" Her voice trembled. "Do you have any idea what that felt like? I thought I'd lost everything. My dream job, my chance to give my son a better life. All because of a mistake that wasn't even real." To her surprise, Michael looked genuinely regretful. "I never intended for anyone to get fired. That was Granger overreacting, trying to find someone to blame. I'm truly sorry you got caught in the middle of it." "Then why didn't you come forward sooner? Why let me get fired before stepping in?" "I didn't know you'd been fired until I overheard those kitchen workers talking about it," Michael explained. "As soon as I found out, I came looking for you. I wanted to make it right." Talia took a deep breath, trying to process everything. "So the promotion, is that real? Or is that just your way of apologizing for what happened?" "Both," Michael Key admitted. "It's a real position that I've been considering adding to the hotel staff. But I also wanted to make things right with you, and after seeing how you handled yourself today, your attention to detail, your professionalism even under pressure, I think you're perfect for the job." Talia studied his face, looking for any sign of deception. But all she saw was sincerity. "Why me?" she asked finally. "There must be hundreds of people more qualified." Michael smiled. "Qualifications aren't everything. I hired a lot of qualified people to run this hotel, and look what happened today. Granger is qualified. He has 20 years of experience. But He fired you without a second thought when things got tough. He placed a hand on Talia's shoulder. I'd rather have someone with heart, someone who cares about doing the right thing, someone who pays attention to the details, someone like you. Talia felt tears welling in her eyes, but she blinked them away. I still don't know if I can do this. The media attention, the pressure, it's a lot. You don't have to decide right now, Michael said gently. Take some time to think about it. Talk to your son. See how you feel in the morning. Talia nodded gratefully. She needed time to process everything that had happened today. There's one more thing, Michael added. I was serious about what I said at the ceremony. You treated me like any other guest, with respect and professionalism. That's exactly what I want for this hotel. Every guest should feel valued, whether they're famous or not. That's just basic human decency, Talia said with a shrug. You'd be surprised how rare that can be, Michael replied with a wry smile, especially in the luxury hotel business. A knock at the door interrupted them. Curtis poked his head in. Sorry to disturb you, but they're requesting your presence back in the ballroom, Mr. Jordan. It's time for the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Michael nodded. We'll be right there. As Curtis closed the door, he turned back to Talia. Ready to face the crowd again? Talia took a deep breath. I think so, but I have one more question. What's that? If the computer system was changed to put you in room 7112, does that mean there's someone else in the penthouse suite right now? Michael laughed, a genuine warm sound that filled the small conference room. That's exactly the kind of attention to detail I'm talking about. Don't worry, the penthouse is empty. We made sure of that. As they walked back to the ballroom together, Talia felt different. The shock and anger were fading, replaced by a strange mix of exhaustion and excitement. This day had been unlike any other in her life. And as they re-entered the crowded ballroom, where all eyes immediately turned to them, Talia realized that her life had changed forever. Whether she accepted the promotion or not, nothing would ever be quite the same again. The confrontation was over. The truth was out. And somehow, against all odds, what had started as the worst day of her career had turned into an opportunity she'd never dreamed possible. As Talia and Michael re-entered the ballroom, a hush fell over the crowd. All eyes were on them. The basketball legend and the unknown receptionist who had somehow captured his attention. Talia felt self-conscious under the scrutiny, but Michael seemed completely at ease, nodding and smiling to guests as they made their way back to the main table. At the center of the ballroom stood a large red ribbon stretched across a symbolic doorway, the final part of the opening ceremony. Photographers gathered around, cameras ready. The mayor and other VIPs moved into position. Ladies and gentlemen, the event announcer called out, please gather around for the official ribbon-cutting ceremony of the Grand Horizon Hotel. The guests formed a semicircle around the ribbon. Michael guided Talia to stand beside him at the front. I'd like to invite Michael Jordan, the visionary behind this magnificent hotel, to do the honors, the announcer continued, handing Michael a large pair of golden scissors. Michael accepted the scissors but didn't immediately step forward. Instead, he turned to the crowd. Thank you all for being here tonight, he began. Opening this hotel has been a dream of mine for years. But dreams mean nothing without the right people to help make them reality. He glanced at Talia, then continued. Today, I was reminded of something important. That the true measure of a business isn't in its fancy building or luxurious amenities. It's in how people are treated. Every guest, every employee, every person who walks through these doors. The room was completely silent now, everyone hanging on his words. Earlier today, I checked into this hotel as a regular guest. I wanted to see how things really worked when no one knew the owner was watching. Michael smiled, and what I discovered was both disappointing and inspiring. He looked directly at Mr. Granger, who seemed to shrink under his gaze. I found that some of our leadership was too quick to blame, too eager to fire without investigating the facts. His expression softened as he turned back to Talia. But I also found exceptional people who treated every guest with respect and dignity. Exactly what I want this hotel to be known for. Michael raised the scissors. So, as we cut this ribbon and officially open the Grand Horizon, I'm making a promise. This will be a hotel where both guests and staff are valued, where mistakes are seen as opportunities to learn and grow, not reasons for punishment, where human connection matters more than perfect procedures. With that, he handed the scissors to Talia. Ms. Bennett, would you do the honors? This moment belongs to you as much as anyone. Gasps and whispers rippled through the crowd. Talia stared at the scissors in shock. Me, she whispered. You, Michael confirmed with a warm smile. You've earned it. With trembling hands, Talia accepted the scissors. The crowd watched in stunned silence as she stepped forward. The photographer's cameras clicked rapidly, capturing the unexpected moment. Talia took a deep breath and cut the ribbon. The red satin fell away, and the crowd erupted in applause. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael announced over the applause, the Grand Horizon Hotel is officially open. Champagne corks popped. Music swelled. The celebration resumed with new energy. As Talia handed the scissors back to the event coordinator, she noticed Mr. Granger watching her from across the room. His expression was unreadable, a mix of surprise, confusion, and perhaps a hint of respect. Throughout the rest of the evening, Talia found herself being introduced to celebrities, business leaders, and politicians. Everyone wanted to meet the woman Michael Jordan had chosen to cut the ribbon. She smiled and shook hands, feeling increasingly comfortable in this new role, not just as a receptionist, but as someone whose opinion mattered. As the night wound down, Michael found her by the dessert table. How are you holding up? He asked. Better than I expected, Talia admitted, though I still can't believe any of this is happening. Michael chuckled. Sometimes life throws you a perfect pass when you least expect it. You just have to be ready to catch it. Basketball metaphors? Talia raised an eyebrow. Really? Sorry. Occupational hazard. He glanced at his watch. It's getting late. Do you need a ride home? I can have my driver take you. Talia thought about Devin waiting at Mrs. Garcia's apartment, probably long asleep by now. That would be great, actually. Thank you. As they walked toward the exit, Curtis approached them. Mr. Jordan, there's still a crowd outside. Security. Says it's safe, but you might want to use the private exit. What about the people waiting? Michael asked. At least 100 fans. They've been there for hours. Michael thought for a moment, then turned to Talia. Would you mind if we took a small detour? I hate to disappoint people who've been waiting in the cold. Of course not, Talia replied, impressed by his consideration. They headed to the hotel's main entrance. Security guards created a path through the lobby. When the doors opened, Talia was stunned by the scene outside. A large crowd of people, cheering and calling Michael's name, many holding basketballs, jerseys and photos for him to sign. For the next 20 minutes, Michael signed autographs and took selfies with fans. Talia watched, amazed by his patience and genuine interaction with each person. These weren't wealthy VIPs or business partners, just ordinary people who admired him. And he treated them with the same respect he'd shown to the mayor or the high hotel investors. Finally, they made their way to a waiting black SUV with tinted windows. Once inside the quiet vehicle, Talia let out a long breath. "That was amazing," she said. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," Michael replied simply. "Those people matter too." As the car pulled away from the hotel, Talia gazed back at the gleaming building. The Grand Horizon Hotel glowed against the night sky, its windows lit up like stars. "I have one more surprise for you," Michael said, reaching into his jacket pocket. He pulled out an envelope and handed it to her. "What's this?" Talia asked. "Open it." Inside were 2 tickets to the next Chicago Bulls home game, courtside seats, and a pass for a special meet and greet with the team after the game. "For you and your son," Michael explained. "Curtis mentioned he's a basketball fan." Tati's eyes filled with tears. After everything that had happened today, this simple, thoughtful gesture for Devon touched her heart the most. "Thank you," she whispered. "He's going to be so excited." "It's the least I can do," Michael said. "After all, if it weren't for you putting me in room 7112, I might never have seen what needed to change at the Grand Horizon." As the car carried them through the snowy Chicago streets, Talia realized something important. What had seemed like a catastrophic mistake this morning had revealed the true character of everyone involved. Mr. Granger's harsh judgment, Michael's compassion and vision, and her own resilience. The hotel's grand opening had indeed been a revelation, not just of a new luxury building, but of what really mattered in a business. And for Talia, it had revealed strengths within herself she hadn't known existed. Tomorrow, she would start her new position. Tomorrow, she would tell Devon about meeting Michael Jordan and getting tickets to see the Bulls. Tomorrow, their lives would begin to change. But for now, in the quiet of the car, Talia simply felt grateful that sometimes mistakes turn out to be the best things that could happen. 3 weeks later, Talia sat at her new desk on the executive floor of the Grand Horizon Hotel. Her office, her actual office with a door and her name on it, overlooked the Chicago River. The morning sunlight sparkled on the water, making the ice crystals glitter like diamonds. She opened her laptop and reviewed the agenda for today's meeting. As the head of guest experience, she'd spent the past weeks developing new training programs for the staff. Her ideas were simple but powerful. Treat every guest with respect, solve problems quickly, and most importantly, listen to what people actually wanted instead of assuming. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called. The door opened to reveal Mr. Granger. The hotel manager looked different these days, less rigid, more humble. The events of opening night had changed him too. "Good morning, Ms. Bennett," he said. "Do you have a moment?" "Of course," Talia replied, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. It still felt strange to have Mr. Granger, her former boss, who had fired her, now treating her as an equal. "I wanted to discuss the new check-in procedures you proposed," he said, sitting down. "The staff has been practicing them for a week now, and I must say, the guest feedback has been overwhelmingly positive." Talia smiled. "I'm glad to hear that. The goal was to make everyone feel special, not just the VIPs. It's working. Mr. Granger cleared his throat. I also wanted to say, to say again that I'm sorry for how I treated you that first day. It was unfair and unprofessional. Thank you, Talia said simply. They'd had this conversation before, but she appreciated that he was still working to make amends. After Mr. Granger left, Talia turned back to the window, thinking about how much had changed in such a short time. Her new salary had allowed her to move to a safer neighborhood, closer to Devon's school. Her son now had his own bedroom for the first time in years, decorated with Chicago Bulls posters and a signed basketball from the team. The memory of taking Devon to that Bulls game still made her smile. His face when he realized they had courtside seats. His excitement when Michael Jordan himself came to greet them during halftime. The way the players had treated him like a VIP during the meet and greet after the game. It had been a perfect day. Her phone buzzed with a text message from Leo, who was still working at the front desk. The mystery guest just checked in, room 7112. Operation Undercover Boss is a go. Talia grinned. After her experience, she'd suggested a new program. Once a month, a trained evaluator would check in as a regular guest and report back on their experience. The staff knew. These mystery guests existed, but never knew exactly when they would arrive or who they would be. It kept everyone on their toes in the best possible way. Her phone rang, the special ringtone she'd assigned to Michael Jordan. Even after 3 weeks, it still felt surreal that she could just call or text one of the most famous athletes in the world, and he would answer. Good morning, Talia. Michael's deep voice came through the speaker. How's everything at the Grand Horizon today? Running smoothly, she reported. The mystery guest program is in full swing, and Mr. Granger just stopped by to tell me the new check-in procedures are getting great feedback. Perfect. And how's Devon? Has he stopped talking about the Bulls game yet? Talia laughed. Are you kidding? It's all he talks about. His teacher said he wrote an essay about it for school. Apparently, it was very detailed and emotionally engaging. That's great, Michael said. Listen, I'm calling about the hotel chain expansion. The investors were impressed with the changes at the Grand Horizon. Guest satisfaction scores are up 30% since opening night. They've greenlit 2 new locations, one in New York and one in Los Angeles. That's wonderful news, Talia said. It is, and I want you involved in setting up the guest experience departments at both new locations. You'd need to travel for a few weeks to each city. Is that something you could manage with Devon? Talia took a deep breath. More responsibility, more opportunities, a chance to shape not just one hotel, but 3. I'd need to figure out childcare for the travel days, she said. But yes, I think we could make it work. Great. We'll make sure the scheduling works for your family situation, Michael assured her. The success of the Grand Horizon proves your ideas were right. We want to build on that. After they hung up, Talia sat back in her chair, marveling at how far she'd come from that terrifying first day. From getting fired to helping expand a luxury hotel chain, all because she'd accidentally put Michael Jordan in the wrong room. Or at least what she had thought was an accident. That afternoon, Talia had a meeting with Rex Summers, the security director who had led the search for Michael on opening night. They'd become friends over the past weeks, often having lunch together in the staff cafeteria. Ready for your security update? Rex asked, entering her office with a folder. Absolutely, Talia replied. How are the new lobby cameras working? Out? As Rex showed her the updated security protocols, Talia noticed a sticky note on one of the pages. It had a date on it, the date of the hotel's opening. "What's this?" she asked, pointing to the note. Rex smiled. "That's the date of your famous check-in incident with Mr. Jordan. I kept it as a reminder." Talia studied the note. "You know, there's something I still don't fully understand about that day. If Michael had his assistant change the reservation to put him in room 712, why did everyone panic when he wasn't in the penthouse? Wouldn't Curtis have told the staff about the change?" Rex gave her a curious look. "That's a good question. I've wondered about that myself. And why would Michael test his own hotel on the busiest, most stressful day possible? Wouldn't it make more sense to do that kind of evaluation on a normal day?" Rex leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Between you and me, I think there might be more to the story. Something neither of us knows yet." Talia nodded slowly. "I've had the same feeling, like there's one more piece to the puzzle." As Rex left her office, Talia couldn't shake the feeling that the full truth about opening night was still waiting to be revealed. Maybe someday she would discover what really happened. Why Michael Jordan had really checked into room 7112, and why that simple event had changed her life so completely. For now, though, she had work to do, a hotel to improve, a future to build, and a story to tell. Devon, when she got home. About how sometimes the biggest mistakes turn out not to be mistakes at all, but doorways to possibilities you never imagined. 6 months later, Talia stood at the back of the Grand Horizons ballroom, watching the hotel's first employee appreciation gala with pride. The room sparkled with decorations, and staff members from all departments, housekeeping, maintenance, kitchen, front desk, were dressed in their finest clothes, enjoying a night where they were the honored guests instead of the servers. "Quite a change from opening night, isn't it?" Michael Jordan said, appearing beside her. Talia smiled. "Night and day. Everyone's actually having fun this time." In the 6 months since she'd accidentally checked Michael Jordan into room 7112, the Grand Horizon had become one of the top-rated hotels in Chicago. The guest experience program she'd developed had been featured in hospitality magazines, and the new locations in New York and Los Angeles were already under construction. "Are you ready for your speech?" Michael asked. Talia nodded, though her stomach fluttered with nerves. "As ready as I'll ever be." "You'll be great," he assured her. "Just speak from the heart, like you always do." The hotel's new manager, Mr. Granger, had been transferred to a smaller property after the opening night fiasco, stepped up to the microphone, and called for everyone's attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest experience director and the inspiration behind tonight's celebration, Ms. Talia Bennett." Applause filled the room as Talia made her way to the stage. She looked out at the sea of faces. People she now knew by name. People whose lives had improved because of the changes she'd helped implement. Higher wages, better schedules, more recognition for their hard work. "Thank you all for coming tonight," she began. "When I started at the Grand Horizon 6 months ago, I was just looking for a job. What I found instead was a home and a family." She spoke about the importance of every staff member, how the success of the hotel depended, not on fancy amenities but on the people who created genuine connections with guests. As she neared the end of her speech, she saw Michael nodding encouragingly from the back of the room. "And finally," Talia said, I want to thank the person who made all of this possible through what seemed like a simple mistake that turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. Mr. Michael Jordan." She gestured toward Michael, who stepped forward to enthusiastic applause. He joined her on stage and took the microphone. "Thank you, Talia," he said, "but actually, there's something I need to share with all of you tonight. Something only. A few people know." Talia looked at him curiously. This wasn't part of the planned program. Michael turned to address the room. 6 months ago, on the night we opened this hotel, a story began that has now become legend among our staff. The story of how our guest experience director accidentally put me in a standard room instead of the penthouse suite. Murmurs and chuckles rippled through the audience. For months, I've let people believe that I changed the reservation myself as a test, to experience the hotel as a regular guest would, Michael continued. That's the story I told Talia. That's the story we've all accepted. He paused, looking directly at Talia. But that's not exactly what happened. Talia felt her heart beat faster. The lingering questions she'd had about that night suddenly seemed very important. "The truth is," Michael said, his voice carrying clearly through the silent ballroom, "there was no mistake at all." Gasps and whispers filled the room. Talia stared at Michael, confused. "The reservation system worked perfectly," he explained. "Talia did exactly what she was supposed to do. I was always meant to be in room 712. But then, why?" Talia began. "Why? Did everyone panic when I wasn't in the penthouse?" Michael finished her question. "Because only 3 people knew about the plan: me, Curtis, and Rex Summers, our security director." Rex stood up from his table near the front, giving Talia a small salute. "We wanted to see how the hotel management would respond to a problem," Michael continued. "Not how they'd treat a regular guest, but how they'd handle a crisis, how they'd treat staff when things went wrong." Understanding dawned on Talia's face. It was a test, but not of me. "Not of you," Michael confirmed. "Of Granger and the management team. A test they failed spectacularly when they rushed to blame you and fire you without investigation." The room was completely silent now, everyone hanging on, every word. "The real test was seeing who would stand up for what was right when pressure was high," Michael said. "Who would treat people with respect, even in a crisis? And you, Talia, passed that test with flying colors." Talia was speechless. All this time, she'd thought she'd made a career-ending mistake that had miraculously turned into an opportunity. But there had never been a mistake at all. "So, you see," Michael said, turning back to the audience, "the lesson here isn't just about turning mistakes into opportunities. It's about integrity. About doing the right thing even when no one seems to be watching. Because someone always is." He raised his glass. "To Talia Bennett, who showed us all what real guest experience means, treating every person with dignity and respect, no matter who they are or what's gone wrong." "To Talia," the room echoed, glasses rising. As the applause washed over her, Talia felt tears in her eyes. The final puzzle piece had clicked into place. The story she'd been living for 6 months wasn't about a fortunate mistake. It was about being the kind of person who did the right thing naturally, without having to think about it. That night, as she tucked Devin into bed, he asked for his favorite bedtime story, the tale of how his mom had put Michael Jordan in the wrong hotel room. "Actually," Talia said, sitting on the edge of his bed, "I have a new ending to that story. It turns out it wasn't a mistake after all." "Really?" Devon's eyes widened. Then what was it? Talia smiled. It was a test. A test to find someone special. Someone who would do the right thing even when it was hard. And you passed the test, Devon said sleepily. I did, Talia agreed, kissing his forehead. But the funny thing is, I didn't even know I was being tested. I was just being myself. As she turned out the light and closed his door, Talia thought about how differently her life might have turned out if she hadn't been herself that day, if she hadn't treated the man in the baseball cap and sunglasses with the same respect she showed to everyone. Sometimes the biggest tests in life aren't the ones you prepare for. They're the moments when you think no one is watching, the moments that reveal who you truly are. Thanks for joining us for this heartwarming story about Michael Jordan and Talia. Where are you listening from today? Drop your location in the comments below. We love connecting with listeners from around the world. If you enjoyed this tale about how mistakes can sometimes be unexpected doorways to amazing opportunities, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue spreading stories of kindness and second chances. And if you're looking for another uplifting story that will brighten your day, click on the video appearing on your screen right now. Until next time, remember that sometimes our biggest mistakes can lead to our greatest blessings.